Welcome back to this session. In this particular session, we're going to learn how to actually create data models and be able to just implement different table relationships and also be able to actually configure a data table and be able to utilize it inside your analysis, right? So let's get started. So at this point, our data had already been loaded from Power Query, all right? So you can see we have our farmer DB here. We will have the two other independent tables that we're storing the multiple select questions. Here they are, all right? So maybe a little bit just about the interface here. This is a file menu, all right? Here you get to actually open existing report files. You also get to save you can also get use save as, share, get data. Get data allows you to import certain data into your Power BI. You also have import. Import allows you to connect to other files like the Power BI template or Power BI visual from file, the Power BI visual from app source, or Power Query, Power Pivot, and Power View. All right, so you also get to export to different items here, like export to PDF, and you can also publish. So once your Power BI report or dashboard is, you are done, you are actually done designing it and everything is ready, it allows you to publish to the Power BI service. All right, this is a cloud service dimension that we had mentioned. All right, so and then you also get to see options and settings. This allows you to configure different parameters or different settings within Power BI. We'll circle back to this later. And then, of course, yeah, that's all about that. And then we have this menu bar where you have home. Under home, you get to copy, paste all this. Don't worry if they are grayed out because maybe we are not yet to that particular bit. You have the get data. This is where you get into your Power Query. So here is your Power Query. You access it from here. All right. So it allows you to pick different data sources depending with where your data source is. So it's a very good practice for you to be able to know what is your data source. Is it an Excel file? Is it a database? Is it an ODK system? Yeah, it allows you to really decide which connector you can use in here. All right. And then you have the visuals here. This allows you to add visuals into your report. And visuals, I want you to think of visuals, to consider visuals as a front end to your data, all right? This is what now helps you tell stories, all right? Summarize your data and visualize it in a great way that can be understood by different people from different disciplines, all right? So we also have the text box here. This one allows you to type in user text data into your report. Your report, Power BI, I want you to think of Power BI like a combination of Word document, PowerPoint, and Excel under one roof, all right? So all these capabilities, you get it here, all right? And then you also can also bring in more visuals. They will help you just know, put that professional streak to your report and dashboard. And then you have measures, and this measures is a way we do our calculations. We want to see it's being powered by DAX, and then you have the publish tab here. We have insert. Insert also can see you have access to your visuals, and then you also have things like text box, buttons. This allows you for page navigators. You'll find it here. You also have shapes. You can include shapes, all right? And you can also import images into Power BI by using this one here. And then we have the sparkline. It's very good for integrating graphs into your tables. Modeling, all right? So modeling, this is where you're going to be performing our table relations, all right? You can see it also allows you to write measures, and you can also create calculated tables and calculated columns, right? Here they're just known as new table and new column, but they all just mean calculated table and calculated columns. You also have parameters. It's a great way to visualize your data, summarize your data into dimensions and measures, all right? You also have roles, right? Here allows you to define what your report viewers can access or can view within your report. And then we have view. This allows you to work with themes. Themes is a great way to just summarize your information, especially in terms of the font types, the font colors, anything that has to do with the design visualization. it allows you to customize it here. So you can also build your own custom. Yes, you can also build your own custom themes like this that you can use, especially if you work with the if your organization is very specific with the branding. All right, you can develop your own theme here. All right, optimize here. It allows you to see whether your report is performing. Is it fast? Is it slow? You know, such things. All right, back to data modeling. So under data modeling, we already have this table. So the next thing that we need to do, our data, we have this this is the data view, right? Here we have 3 tabs. We have the report view. Here is where we design our reports, and then here is where we visualize the tables themselves. All right. So you have our 3 tables there. All right. Past and CSS like that. Now, our data had a time dimension, all right, like date of registration. We want to be able to track at time of registration, how many resources or assets are we getting from the farmers, all right? So a great way to really do time series analysis, and also in a very powerful way, is to actually create a data table. All this is still part of data modeling, all right? We usually recommend that your data model should at least have a data table. Right. So how do we create a data table? All right. There are different ways that you can create a data table. You can build it from scratch. You can also still create it from inside Power Query. All right. So, and then you can also use ChatGPT to help you generate the code and the M code for Power Query to generate your calendar table, data table, or you can still do it from within data modeling here, where you can just create your data table and be able to include it as part of this. All right. So to create data tables are actually calculated tables. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is to come inside Power BI. I'm going to show you the first method, and we're going to build our data tables from scratch so that at least you get to know how the table is structured. All right. But you can still combine all this into a single DAX that can help you generate all this in one DAX code. All right. I'm just going to break it down into different phases so that you also understand the different ways you can configure your data model. All right. So this is our data model view. I'm just going to use this data view here first. And then under table tools, you can see we have table tools. If you are doing it here, from here, you can still access it from modeling view here. All right. So there it is. So I just wanted you to make note of those slight changes. Now, we have under home here, we're going to select new table. All right, but please feel free to pick it from wherever you can access it from. Okay, so all right, so from my formula by here, I'm going to call this date table. You can call it date table, you can call it calendar table, whatever it is, feel free to mention it there. All right. Let me call it calendar table. Right. So for your calendar table, you require to work with this DAX, all right? DAX is how we write formulas, all right? DAX is how it's a data language that helps us in data analysis inside Power BI and also inside Power Pivot, all right? We also use it inside Power BI to also generate functionalities or automate functionalities or build custom functionalities that can help us in our efforts to analyze data and display it. All right. So we have this formula. I want you to think of it like the Excel functions and formulas. All right. But here it's just being done a different way. So the first thing that you need to do your calculations. So we call them DAX mostly of the time. We'll always work with a certain type of calculation. So the way we structure it is that we build custom calculations. All right. Like for now, I want to create a date table. So how will I create a date table? I need to write DAX, all right? So the title of my calculation is going to be calendar table. And for me to calculate this, I'm going to require the calendar function, all right? here we have the calendar function. Inside the calendar function, we need to declare the start date and the end date. All right. So you can see this calendar function. What it does, it says returns a table with one column of all dates between the start date and the end date. All right. So I need to start our calendar from the year 2019. All right. So before you type that, your start date is going to, the way you declare start date is that you wrap it inside the date function. All right. The date function here. So let me just hold down your shift plus enter to push it to the next line. So this one will help you just and then you can also comment your code. All right. You can comment your code so that you know what it does. This one, you start with the double forward slash signs, and then you can say, okay, I'll say this one generates the date table from 2019 to 2022. All right, that's how you comment. Then we call the calendar function. And the first item that we're going to do is to declare the start date. All right. So our start date, we're going to mention 2019. So you start with the month, with the year. All right. And then comma. So you can see the year has been declared here. And then the month. So under the month, we're going to say January. So it's going to denote 1. And then the day is also going to be 1. So the 1st of January. So it's going to be 2019 January on the first day. All right. And then we close it. All right. And then we do a comma. All right. And then you also, again, start to declare the end date. All right. The end date we said can be 2022. And then the month can be the month of December 31st. All right. Like that. All right. So just like this, and then you need to close. All right. We're going to close the calendar function like that. Okay. And then just hit on this tick sign, or just click on or hit enter. All right. You can see now it has generated a table. All right. You can see here we have our calendar table, and it only has one column with the field name date. All right. Now from this column, we are going to generate the year. We're going to generate the month name. We're going to generate the month number. We're going to generate the month year. All right. And we're also going to generate financial columns like the financial year, the financial month, the financial quarter. Yeah, in such manner. All right. So let's start with the normal year. All right. So to generate a normal year starting from January to December, you just write a function, all right? So within this table, we're going to add a calculated column or a new column. So just select a new column like that. And then you're going to see it now gives you a template here. So I'm going to rename this column to year, all right? And then shift enter, we can I like documenting the code. This one generates the year. All right. And then we are going to use the year function. All right. This is a DEX. All right. The year function. So the year function is going to return the year of a date as a 4-digit integer. All right. So what we do here is just to reference our calendar table. So we have it here, calendar table, and then click or press the square bracket key here, and then you can reference the date column here like this, and then you close. All right. So anytime you are referencing columns in DAX, all right, you have to first precede it with the table name. All right. Like here it says calendar table and then the date column. All right. So if I wanted to reference something inside the Farmer DB, I'll start also a column inside the Farmer DB, like maybe Farmer code. I'll say Farmer DB Farmer code. All right, very good. So yeah, this one is ready. Just click on the tick sign and you should be able to see a new column that is returning the year part. All right, so right, you can see we have 2019 all the way to 2022. In the event, maybe you want to change, all right, to change your years here, all right, you can always come and modify this. Let's say maybe you wanted your date to start maybe in 2018, you can have it in 2018, or maybe you want it maybe to go to 2023 here. You can say, let it go to 2023. All right, so yeah, you can see up to 2023. All right, so how do we generate the month number or the month name? All right, so it's slightly different. So for the month number, we'll just call in, create a new column like that. And then I'll call this month number. All right, and then just comment this. All right, and here we're going to just use the month function here. All right, and then we just reference the calendar table date column like that. All right, let's go to the next one. The month name. All right, so for the month name again, it's new column. Right, now to generate the month name, we're going to use a slightly different function here. Just call it month, sorry, the month name. All right, so here I'll say right. Now here we're going to use the format function, right? Like this, right? So we're going to declare what are we formatting? We're going to format this date, all right? So I'll reference the calendar table date column and then a comma. What format do I want? I'm going to say that I need it to be returned as month. All right, I'm going to start with 3. 3Ms, what it does is that it's going to return your month, the short month name, all right, the one that has 3 characters, like Jan, February, and that. All right, let's see, for example. Great, you get to see Jan. All right, if you wanted the full month name, you make them 4. All right, 4Ms. Great. All right, so that's it. Now, how do we get the month year? All right, so for the month year, still the same thing, similar. So we'll go to new column, and then we're going to say this one is going to be, going to name it month year. All right, so for the month year, I'm going to say Okay, so for this one, still going to use the format function here. Just say our calendar date column like this, and then how do we need it? All right. So if we want to have the full name, we can say, okay, I'll just use a short one, and then I can put a hyphen, and then we declare the year part. All right. So this Y, this triple 4 Ys will return the year number. All right. And the M will return the month short name. And the hyphen will separate both of them. Let's see. All right. There you are. If you're not happy with the hyphen, you can always just come here and just replace it with an empty character space. Great. All right, now we have our year, the month name, and the month year. All right, so we might also maybe require the quarters. All right, so for the quarter is quite straightforward. We can just start with new column. All right, and then we'll say quarter. All right, so I'll say equals. All right, now to get the quarter number, all right, to get the quarter number, we are going to use the quarter function, all right? It's called quarter, all right? So quarter like this, we want it to generate quarter from what? From the calendar date column, calendar date, date table, the calendar table date column, all right? And then just like that, and we close it, all right? This one will automatically return the quarter number. Okay, there you have it. Now, if you wanted it to say quarter one, quarter two in that fashion, then we'll just take this and say, I'm going to join them, right? So I'll start by first declaring that I need to have quarter one, and then I'll say join, use the ampersand, this ampersand to make your joins. To join it to what? To join it to this. All right, let's see. And there you are. Okay. Great. All right. So for that, all right. Now to create your financial year column, all right. So this is how you go about creating financial years. Again, you're going to just select new column, all right, just within your calendar table, and we are going to write a DAX, all right. We're going to write a DAX, and we're going to utilize variables within our DAX, all right. So I'm going to just name it financial year. From July, okay? So once you have that, we're going to create variables, right? So the first variable, I'm going to call it current year, all right? So this current year is going to do something for us, all right? I'm going to reference that it should be able to generate the year from the calendar table date column. All right. Yes, just like that. So that's our first variable. All right. The second variable, I'm going to call it next year. Okay. And this next year is actually just going to be simply just to be current year plus plus 1. All right. Okay. And then we need to declare the start of the month. All right. So the next variable is start, the start month. All right. So the start month, I'll give it 7. So it should be starting from July. All right. So depending with when your year is starting, that's when you mention it there. Okay. So after that, we're going to return. All right. We're going to return the value, and under return, we're just going to say if and then we'll say can say if the now we now try and get the current month number. All right. So for that, we just say if the current month number from our calendar date table under the date column, this one here, if it's more or equals to the start month. All right, remember our start month, this one. All right, then okay, what do we declare? The first condition will be to declare financial year, and then we join it with what? We're going to join it with current year. All right, and then so if it was maybe 2020, and let's say maybe it's more than 7 and above, then you should be able to read 2020, the current year, and then the next year, that should be 2021. So this is going to be and next year. Right? And next year, let me just have some space between them. Like that. Okay. Now, if this is not true, right, what should it return? So if that is not the case, then it should be able to return. So let's say maybe it's showing as if it's less than 7, maybe 6. So that belongs to the previous year. All right. So what do? We say, if that is not the case, okay, let me just pull this down here. All right, and I'll say financial year. I'm going to say it's going to be the current year minus 1 and then we reference the current year. So we put previous year versus current year. So there, like that. And then we close. All right, you can close it like that. Right, and you can see now you have your financial year properly stated. So this one is January 2019. The financial year is going to be financial year 2018-2019. Okay, yes, that's all about calendar tables. All right, so after this, you need to now set up our table relations. All right, so you can see it tried to set up this automatically, but you can always check to see whether it has assigned it properly. So let me just delete this, and then we set it up properly from scratch. I'm not saying that this table relationship is bad. It's always just good to check whether it has assigned it properly. So I just want to be able to show you this from scratch. Right. Now, we have our main table here, and we have our date table somewhere here. Let me just manage them properly. Right, somewhere up to there. Now, for table relationship to work, let's say maybe we want to link this table and this table. Then we say it's recommended that between these two tables, you find columns, a column or a field that is similar to both tables, and it stores the same data or similar data, and it has similar data type. For example, in here, we have farmer code. And also in here, we also have farmer code here. All right. So to set up our table, we are going to require this farmer code here and farmer code here. All right. So you simply just come here to your main table. Now, there are different types of table relationship approaches that you can have. All right. We usually recommend to have a star schema table, but you can also have a hierarchical table relationship model. All right. So here, I'm just going to go with it. Now, when it comes to data modeling, it's never straightforward. First of all, we usually recommend that you first understand your data, right? Once you understand your data, you understand what is being stored where, what is being captured by which table. And then you look at the tables that you have. Now, one of the things that will help you really excel when you are developing your data models is to understand the granularity of each table that is at your disposal. For example, we have this farmer DB. This one is very good. And we also have the calendar table, and we have the organic fertilizer table. Now, each of these have different granularities, all right? Let's start with the calendar table. Now, the granularity of each table, what it means is that you look at each individual column, all right? So each individual row, each record, each row within your table, what does each row represent inside your data? All right. Now, that is what we call the granularity. You find the smallest granularity within your table. Now, for example, the smallest granularity within the date table here is the individual date or day. Right? We can't come below the day, all right? At some point, you can aggregate these days to months, all right? And we can even have them into quarters, and we can have them into years, all right? Or financial years, all right? So it goes without saying that the granularity of our date table is a date column, all right? Now, let's switch to FarmerDB. Right? When you're inside FarmerDB, if you look properly at this dataset is actually tracking each individual farmer, a single farmer. So every single row resonates with a is capturing information about a single farm. All right. So, although we also have in there with gender, marital status, different parish, but the smallest granularity within the farmer database table is a farmer. All right. And we can see now in most cases, the granularity of your data should be uniquely identified by a unique identifier like the farmer ID or the farmer code. All right. So these IDs help us to just determine the smallest granularity within your data table. All right. So this data set, you can actually aggregate it to gender. You can aggregate it to marital status, to district, to parish, to village, and so on and so forth. All right. So once that has been established, we can also look at what we have under organic fertilizer. So under organic fertilizer, here we have the different techniques or the different organic fertilizer that is being used by each individual farmer. All right. So here you can see still the smallest granularity is a farmer. All right. And also it can be the organic fertilizer. All right. So that is the smallest granularity. Anyway, so coming to now configuring your table relations. Now, there are two ways you can configure table relationship within your data model. Number one is quite simple. It's just a matter of looking for these two like code, farmer code and farmer code. We're going to join this farmer code to this farmer code here. So you can just click and drag it. All right. Click and drag. Right now, when you click and drag on your destination table, you can see that we have these dotted lines. All right, so make sure it's actually selected on the farmer code and then drop it there. All right, so you can see it has actually established a table relation that is one to many. So the farmer DB is on the one side of our table relation, while the organic fertilizer is on the many side of the table relation. What this means, a single farmer here can have multiple organic fertilizers that they are using to apply on their farm. All right. Now, by default, Power BI will try and just help you establish this table relationship based on how it has analyzed your tables. Now, as much as this is good and it's quite fast, we always recommend that you just go through the table relations and just see whether it's being assigned the way you had hoped it to be assigned. We have said that data modeling is not straightforward, right? It will change. And your data model, as data is coming up, as data is evolving, as new data is coming in, your data table, as you are introducing in more data sources from different sources, your data model will keep, is going to be dynamic, and it will also keep evolving, right? So at some different times, you might also want to modify your data model to fit your needs. All right, there's nothing like one size fits all. You first have, it's a function of how well do you understand the tables or your data sources that are within your data model. So once you are able to understand how your data, and most of it is usually tied to the workflows. All right, so here we are. Pest and disease is the same thing. Now, if I wanted to establish whether this table relation is valid, you can select, okay, you have two options. You can delete. If you wanted to remove this table relation, you can select delete. All right, I'm not going to delete it because we had shown you how to delete some few minutes ago. And then you can modify. So once you right click on it, select properties. Okay, so when you're in here, it actually, what you're going to see are the two tables that are being where this table relationship is being where the table relationship is active, all right? It will show you which tables are being connected. Okay, so you have your organic fertilizer and you have your farmer DB, all right? So you have many to one and one to many, all right? So here, this, if it says many to one, it means that organic fertilizer, many to one, all right? So this first part here is usually, before the two, is usually the first table. And then one is usually the second table. All right, so you can see the columns that have been highlighted in gray are the columns that are being used to establish our connection. Okay, the farmer code and the farmer code. All right, so you can look at your cross filter. All right, so your cross filter Power BI has established that you can have it as single, but you can also have it as both. All right, good. Now, once you have that, just select OK. All right. Number two, on how you can set up your table relations is to come within the data model interface here. All right. You're going to see we have this option here that says manage under home that says manage relationships. All right. Just click on it. And then you're going to see a roster that will show you all the table relations within your data model. So far, it only says that you only have the first relation is between organic fertilizer and farmer DB. All right. You can say, now, here is where you can automate a number of things. You can ask it to auto-detect. All right. Let's tell it to auto-detect. And just click on auto-detect here. Let's see whether it will return anything. Okay, it didn't sense the calendar table, but it's okay. So there. Now, okay. I think it has picked a second one. Let's see whether it can pick the calendar table. All right. At best, it has given us two. So we now have a table relationship between pest and diseases and farmer code. All right. We can look at here, edit, just by selecting this relationship and selecting edit to see how it has factored that, still many to one. We can make this both, and then okay. All right. So the other way you can establish this connection is to click here under the new tab. All right. Under the new tab, you have this part here and you have this part here. So I want, at this point, I want to link the calendar table to what? To our farmer DB. All right. So I'm going to link the date table or the date column from the calendar table to the farmer registration date. All right. So we're going to pick here the calendar table. All right. And then we're going to select the date column. And then here we're going to pick farmer DB. And then we're going to pick date of registration here. All right. And you can see already it has assigned one to many. All right. I can say this is both. And then you can select OK. All right. And then you can close. All right. And now you see you have your table relations that are now active. All right. So between this, farmer DB is on the one side of the table relation, while organic fertilizer is on the many. The same thing also here, farmer DB is on the one side, while pest and diseases is on the many's side. Between the calendar table and the farmer DB, the calendar table is on the one's side, while the farmer DB this time comes to the many's side based on the date table. Now you can see we actually just linking date, right? Date and date of registration here, right? So in here, in a single day, you can have more than one farmer being registered. That's why you're having, when you're linking it with date, you can have many dates, registration dates within the same day here, right? Yes, that is now table relationship. It's all about how you're connecting your data. Once you have this, you are now ready to now start writing your DAX for the things that you want to analyze. All right. Now, before you start analyzing, we recommend that you have a list of things. What do you want to analyze? All right. You need to have some sort of analysis work plan, because sometimes your databases are too big and you cannot analyze everything. You need to decide what goes into your report. Now, we've said that you can have different types of reports, but first establish what you want to analyze. And some of them might be straightforward, others might require you to create or transform your data by writing DAX and formulas. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is to look and say, what do we want to calculate? All right, so number one, I'm going to create a list here of the things we're going to calculate. All right, so we first determine what we are going to analyze. All right, these are some of the things that are going to go into our reports and dashboards. And most of the time we say that you track this by your project matrix indicators. This is a framework or a matrix that helps you know how you're going to measure change, or how you're going to do change detection. So how are we going to make change? How are we going to make to measure change? For this particular project, number one is by tracking the number of farmers who are being registered, all right, into the project. So here we can call it here. The first thing that we want to track is the total number of farmers, or total farmers registered. All right. Yes. And for this, you can write a number of things. This, in terms of DAX, we can, okay, let me first maybe mention all of them. So I can call this number one. Total main crop plants. So we can say total main crop plants. Right. Number three, we can say total or just the farm size. All right, the farm size. Okay. Or the field size. Let me call it field size. All right. Number four, you can have we had productive crops and non-productive crops. So you can say productive crops. Here we can call it, we want to find how many total productive crops do we have. And then can also find how many total non-productive. Main crop plants. Huh? And here can also be okay. Now, under total farmer registered, we can also have things like farmer registered same period last year. Right? And then you can also have farmers registered last month. Right? This one you can call it SPLY. This one you can call it last month. Okay. Now, the other thing, if you wanted to find the running total or the year to date, you can also say registered farmers year to date. Year to date or YTD. Okay, good. Total main crop plants, you can also give a breakdown based also on this. Okay, you can also find the quantity difference, right? Here, you can also find this one, you can have it as a percentage. Yes, this one is usually measured as a percentage. Technically, it's just the quantity difference, all right? Current year, current year. And this one can also be current month versus last month. There are those who like to call it current period. So it will depend which period you are trying to look at. You can have current year, this year versus last year. You can also have this month versus last month. You can also have this quarter versus last quarter. All right. Yes. The next thing, total main crop plants. Same thing will also apply. Okay. So you can have main crop plants, same period last year. Okay. And then you can also so here it's going to be main crop plants year to date. I'll just call it YTD, year to date, or just the running total. All right, last month. We also do for field size, for total productive main crop plants, and for total unproductive main crop plants. So I'll just say here, all right. You can also decide to find it by gender, all right? You can calculate the total farmers by gender. So you can calculate the female. We'll just have this by gender, 6 here, male versus female. So in here, you can say total male. So you can say males year to date, all right? Okay, and any other calculation that might arise later, okay? So here, what do we do? Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is to calculate the main ones. So we can start by total number of farmers registered. So when you come to this, so this is what we are going to calculate. We're going to forget about any other thing and going to calculate these measures, all right? So this will form part of our measures. So when you're analyzing, we usually have two things. We have dimensions and we have measures. Measures are these things that we can calculate. And then dimensions are those things like how we are disaggregating our data by gender, by male, that is male, female, by marital status, by month, year, by the type of fertilizer being applied on the field of farm, and any other categorical information that is going to appear on your data table. All right. So number one, you ask yourself, how will I calculate total number of farmers from this table? All right. So for this, we're going to write a measure. All right. And the measure is just going to be very simple and straightforward. The measure will just say, based on the table that I have, all right, total farmers is going to read what? Let's just do it directly, total farmers. So we want to come here. Before we write your measures, we recommend that you create a measures table. All right, measures table is a great way to store the different measures that you are going to use in your calculations. So number one, how do you create a measure table? A measure table most of the time is going to be a calculate table. So call it just the new table. All right, just switch to table tools and select new table. All right. Now this table is going to be a blank table. All right. I'm just going. All right. Measures table, just like that. And it's not going to store anything. Just click on this tick sign. All right. Once it's there, just come here to this empty column, right click on the header and select and hide in report view. Okay. Now, if you look at your field list here, or your table list, sorry, should have read measures table. All right. And then all our measures are going to sit inside the measures table. So here, just highlight this and select new measure. All right. New measure. Right. We start with the first one. Total farmers. So we want to calculate the current total number of farmers. What can help us calculate the total number of farmers? All right. We can count the row columns, or we can count all the unique farmer codes. All right. So if you're going to count the number of columns, sorry, the number of rows, then we can use right? We can use count rows. All right. So count rows is a function, or is a DAX that is going to count. And how do you count? We just count it from the farmer DB table. Okay. Now this one is very good. All right. However, what happens if the farmer DB have duplicate entries of farmers? All right. So at this point, you have to be very sure that there will be no duplicates. All right. So a better way of doing this will not be to count rows, but to do it. It will be to count distinct farmer IDs. All right. So here we're going to say distinct count and no blank. So it should count only distinct IDs. Distinct are unique IDs. So you're going to find out how many unique IDs do we have, the ones that don't have repetitions. All right. And then it will not count any row that doesn't have a farmer ID. All right. That's what we mean by no blank. So it's not going to count the blank spaces. All right. So we do what? We go into the farmer DB. All right. And we find the farmer code here, just like that. And we close. And that is how you count the number of farmers. Okay. Yes. Now, this being a measure, you have no way of visualizing or seeing the result on the table, but you can use your visuals to display these results. Okay, so for example, if we switch now to our report view and we want to view the total number of farmers, okay, is going to be in this. Okay. And let's say registered farmers. All right. Let's switch to the report view. All right. The report view is where we're able to build our visuals. So we have not started on the designing. I'm just going to show you how you can visualize the results of whatever measures you are building on. Number one is to use a card visual. All right. So I'm just going to use a new card visual. Here it is. The new card visual. And then once I add it here, you want to access two icons or two buttons here for every visual that you'll be interacting with. All right. So currently, every visual, when you add it to the report view, it doesn't come with any visuals by default. So we have to first link it to the data. That is what we use this icon for. It's called the build data or add data icon. All right. And then the format visual. All right. This one allows you to modify or customize your chart here. So the first one is here. So under data, click this, and we are looking for this measure, registered farmers. So under here, you can come under the measure table and link it to the registered farmers. Let's see what it does. It tells us it's 3K. All right. So it's already customizing all this. So I'm going to format this so that it just show me the actual number. So under the format visual, select more option. And on the left, on the right side here, you should be able to see there's a new pen or section that displays the option that we can actually modify. So number one is the call out value. All right. This value inside here. Okay. This value, we can do a number of things to it. All right. We can, number one, we can decide what font type it should use. So I'm going to change this from DIN to Sigo. All right. Let's change this to DIN to Sigo. Like that. And then we can bold this. All right. And we can even give it a unique color. All right. Let me give it something like that. All right. And then we can even center it here. All right. Now it's reading 3K. I do not want it to read 3K. I want it to give me the actual value. So still under values, we scroll down and then you should be able to see display units. All right. So in here, you can display it to thousands. That will be the K, or you can say millions. All right. Or you can come here and change it to none so that it just registers it the way it should in this manner. All right. Now, sometimes you want to have the thousand separator. So what do? You come just down here and say, under the display units, we want to have custom. All right. So under custom, you're going to see the format code here. So under this format code, just type there, I want to have hash, comma, and 0. It will give you that that thousand separator. Okay. Yes. Now, as you are building this visual, there are things that you need to consider. All right. You can decide you want to bring in some icons. All right. So for this, if you have icons, you're going to scroll down to a part that says cards. All right. So after callout, we have cards here, down here. All right. So this card, we just drag it down, and then we find the image option here. Currently, it's grayed out, so we turn it on and expand. And here you find that there are two types of images. You can add a normal image or an image URL. Okay, we'll talk later about image URL. Let's now just look at image. Okay, so under image here, you click on this browse and navigate to where you have your icons. All right, so in here, let's navigate to icons and should be able to pick some of these icons here. So I'm going to check for registered farmers. Let's pick this one here. All right, click on it, and then let's see. There it is. Okay, so now you can see the icons are very nice. All right, the next thing is to now format this icon. So under image fit, I'll change this to so that it reads fit. All right, there. Okay, or you can also even transfer it to fill. All right, now in terms of the position, all right, currently it's on the right. We can switch it to be on the left like this. And then the size of our icon, all right, currently it's at 50. All right, we can switch this to something like 92. All right, and then our let's see, I'll call it value. I'm going to reduce the font. Good, there, something like 34. But it's always dynamic. You can always change it depending with how you want it to be. So we have our total number of farmers here. All right. Now, as you continue, there are a number of things you can do. All right. You can continue calculating for all the others. Now, this is the other way you can also do this. All right. Using, if you wanted to, this one just report on, to just report, okay, to just report on what the values are. But you can also use, if you wanted to give time series insights, you can use this area this area chart. All right, area chart are actually very good when you want to combine the values and what the values and the trend. So number one will be to generate our trend. All right, our trend line. So the trend line, we're going to track it by let's track it by month year. All right, by month year. So I'll come and say under y-axis, we are going to go into the calendar table. It's already linked, so I only need just to pick the month year like this. All right, and then on the y-axis, we are going to pick our measure, this registered number of farmers. So pick the measure, pick registered number of farmers. Right, and there you are. So it gives you, it tells you that over the years, it has been declining. All right, but we are not sure about this. So we can bring in a slicer. So I'll just bring in a slicer. And then this slicer, I'm going to slice it by years. So we separate it to read by year, like this. Right, and then it gives us a time. I'm going to change it so that it shows it as tiles. Okay, so drag it on top here. And have it somewhere here. All right, and then you can even format this. All right, this slicer here. Under values, you can say the font color should be, can give it white, and then the background should be what? Should be this blue here. This header here, we can get rid of it. It's called the slicer header. Just turn it off, and then under size and style, we'll turn off the background. Right? So there it is. If these numbers are small, you can see the font size is very small. Under slicer values here, you can increase it from 10 to 12. All right, there. Okay. Let me just have it as 12. There. Now, if I say 2019, okay, it should be able to filter. You can see it has filtered 604. So this one is reporting for 2019. And then the trend for 2019 is here. If you say 2020, you get it like that. If for 2021, you also get it like that. And if for 2022. So for some reason, this number, they usually, okay, you can see for some reason, it's not arranging it from January the way you want it in a chronological order. So the way you fix this is to come to your date table here. All right, just pick your date table or your calendar table, and then we are going to filter this. Now, if you sort it, the normal, sorry, if we're going to sort it, now, Power BI doesn't have a way of knowing that January up to December is a chronological order of the dates, all right? So what you're going to do, we want to use a month number column to filter any other column that we want to work with. Now, for example, we have month year. We need to filter it so that it's actually sorted. We need to sort it so that it's actually sorted according to the chronological order. So we come here under sort by column, click on this drop down arrow, and then come and select sort by month number. All right, You can also do that for your month name here. All right. For the month name here, you can say sort by month number. Now, this year here, all right, this year is currently formatted as a whole number, all right? It's currently formatted as a whole number. We're going to change it to text. All right, so that is okay now. Just remember to save your work. Click on save. All right, so back to our report view. All right, so here we are. All right, so we are going to pick 2022 and see whether it's still not doing it. So what do? You need to come here and say more options and you say sort axis by month, year. All right. Now it's showing you from December to January. So we're going to change this sort into ascending so that it does it in the chronological order, and there you have it. So let's see whether it maintains. So you can see in 2019, the month started at June, ended in November, and then they took a space and resumed on January all the way to December. Okay. Yes. Right, there it is. There it is. Okay. And you can see it's very dynamic as you actually filtering it out. All right. Now, with that, there are a number of things you can do. All right. I want to use this. I'm going to maybe display the values here. For that, just select come here and say you can add the markers, right? This, and then you can add the data labels. All right. If you wanted to change this color, you can just come select more options, and then you come to this option that says lines. All right. Under lines, you can pick any type of line you want. Under line style, you can pick dashed. All right. You can also pick dotted. All right. Just change this maybe to solid. And then the stroke width, you can increase the thickness, or you can also reduce the thickness. All right. And then colors. So under color, you can pick the color that you want. I'll pick this deep blue, and there I have it. Okay. You can remove these grids. All right. The grid, just select this and find grids and just turn off the grids. All right. This registered farmers. All right. When you click on this, you should be able to see registered farmers is on the y-axis. All right. This registered farmers. So you come here under format and find the y-axis, and you can switch it off. All right. You can see it gets rid of that axis. And then for every axis, we usually have a title. You can switch off the title. All right. Now, this is very good. Okay. It's very good. Now, because I want to change this into a KPI, you can have this as your normal graph like this, but you can also customize this so that it becomes a KPI. So to do that, we are going to bring in, we have the title here. All right. So under title here, you have a subtitle. All right, you have a subtitle. So I want this subtitle to also be able to respond about this number here, the registered number of farmers, and then it gives me an insight about the trend. Okay, so for this, we will come and bring this one here. Now we have title. All titles should be formatted as text. Okay, all titles should be formatted as text. So I'm going to call it the subtitle. All right, registered farmers subtitle. So under modeling, I'll just click here and select your measure table. You can right click here and select new measure. Right, I can say this is registered farmers subtitle. All right, now for this, I'll just say this one converts to string. Okay, and then we'll just come here and say format will pick our registered farmers, comma, and then we'll just type there the word string. Mm, good, 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 good. All right, it's now formatted as text. So from this, we'll come here under format, and then under subtitle, I'll just navigate where subtitle was. We're going to turn it on like this, and then we're going to go into subtitle. Now you can type your values here. You're going to see it's going to appear here. And you can also decide that it should be dynamic, being powered by your measure or your DAX. So for that, I'll just go into this FX. FX allows me to link it dynamically. All right, so it's going to open up a window. And now this is the window. We're going to select format style, going to be field value, and then down here, what field should we base this on? Click on this drop down arrow. You're going to find it's going to show you a table or this list of your fields. Just select registered farmer subtitle and select OK. Okay. I think All right, there. So I've just given it the normal one, and then let's close this. Now you have your 604 here. Now the next thing will be to just make sure we align this horizontally, no, center, and then can also bring this to be on the center. This color, we can change this color to be blue, and then you can bold it, and then you can increase font. Right now, for this, we want to get rid of this axis, so we'll go back up here, turn off the axis. All right, turn even the title like this, and then of course we're going to turn off the data labels. Like that. There. So our title here is going to just be registered farmers. I can change this also to Sego. Like that. And now you have your KPI. So you can have it like this. You can also have it like this. It's for you to decide. All right. Yes. The same thing also goes for, if I had this, maybe you can say copy and then paste. We can switch this to this here. All right. There you have it. Now, I want you to know that it's very dynamic. You can see it's giving you the values, and the values. So these are the different ways you can work with these measures. The other way you can also have it is to have it inside a table. All right. You can have it inside a table like this. Can pick a normal table. All right. So this normal table, we can add things to it. All right. We can start off by saying, I need the registered number of farmers like this. You can see it gives me here. Now I can also say I'm interested in it to disaggregate it by district. So you can also add district there. All right, let me just good. Now you have your district here. Let me just increase these values. Increase this to 12. Column headers also 12. Good. Now you have it like this. Now you can see for some reason it's the very dynamic. All right, this is what we call the filter context. All right, so we have two types of automatic functionalities within Power BI: the raw context versus the filter context. So what we've just seen here, we've just used this total number of farmers to be able to filter it down here. You also saw that also in 20, if we use this normal slicer, it goes ahead to filter it the way you are filtering this. All right, good. And then also this visual here, you can still copy and paste. and you can visualize it as a normal clustered bar chart like this. Okay, yes. So those are the different ways you can work with this. Also, the same thing, I'll still paste it here. You can have it as a donut chart. Right? Now, your visuals, the charts that you choose to use should be able to actually display insights. All right, they should be able to invoke insights. Now, if I look at this, I might not want to go with this because this one is very good for visualization, but it's not giving us any insight. When you compare this one is very powerful in terms of deriving insights. Even this is very good. Even this, it gives you an idea of the total, the quantity. You can see Kayunga has more. Let's maybe increase. Let's pick this. The values are too small. We're going to go into that should be what we should be the y-axis. So under the y-axis, we can increase these values. They're currently set at 9, font size 9. I'll increase it to 12. All right. So there. Now the colors don't have to be this eye straining. I'm just going to give it dark black. Right? That. Great. So these are the different ways you can utilize this. All right. Now, there you have it. Now, the next thing is we're going to calculate all our values. All right. We're going to calculate all our values. So I'm going to go back here and try and find total farmers. I already have farmers registered. I'm going to find the total main crop plants and the field size, productive and non-productive. Right. So switching back to our table here, we have our farmer database here. All right, let's just have a look at it. The next item is to find total main crop plants. So we have total main crop plants. I'll just search it here. Right, so in here, the total main crop plants. All right, so for every farmer, you can see how many main crop plants that they have. Okay, so we're going to find the total main crop plants. Now for this, we are not going to count, rather we're going to do a summation. Now for us to write this summation, it's going to be just quite straightforward. I'll say, just pick on the measure table and select new measure. All right, and we are going to say this is main crop plants. We're going to name it main crop plants equals shift enter. Say this one does what? Calculate the total main crop plants. All right, shift enter. For this, we're going to do a sum, all right? Sum, and then we're going to do it. We're going to say farmer DB, square bracket, total number of male cropped plants, like this, and then we close. All right. Yes. The next thing will be to find the total, the farm size. All right. So again, this is still going to be sum of what? Of farmer DB. It's coming from the farmer DB, and then the column is going to be main crop farm size, like that. Okay. Then close. Enter. Okay. Now we have the number of females and number of males. All right. So also that one, we're going to do it like this. Now, let's maybe have a quick view at our table. So we have male and female. They are here. All right. It's not an actual number, but it's just one of the values that has been entered to denote whether this farmer was male or female. The way we're going to calculate this, we're going to find the total number of farmers and then going to find out how many of them are male and how many of them are female. All right. Now, for that, we are going to bring on board something called the calculate. We're going to use the DAX that are used for filtering. All right. The DAX that is being used for filter, we're just going to select here measure table. Just go back to measure table, new measure. I can just say this is male, and then calculate. Okay. Now for this, we're going to call in the calculate function. Now, calculate function allows us to filter. All right. So we're going to filter. Okay. So before you filter, this is how you structure your work with the calculate function. Now you say, what do you want to calculate and how you should filter it. So I want to find the total number of farmers or registered farmers. And then after I find that, we are going to filter. So how are we going to filter? I'm going to say, I'm going to filter by farmer DB. Then I'm going to say gender. This gender should equals to what? Should equal to male. Okay, that's how you work with the calculate function. All right, let's do a new measure for the female. All right, let's have a look. Okay, so now the beauty about this visual, the new card visual, is that you can include more than one measure in there. So let's say now after the total number of registered farmers, we need to find the total number of main crops. All right, so you can just come here and type main crops. All right, and you can see it starts adding it there. All right, you can also add farm size. So farm size there. Okay. Now we need to have very functional icons. All right. So this one, while it was for farmers, this one was very good. While it was for main crop, we need to change this icon. So for that, this is how you're going to go about it. Okay. Under this format visual, we're going to go under image. All right. Under cards here. All right. Under cards, we select the series. All right. So by default, it's going to add this as a series for everything, but we will now want to change this and say, for our series, now pick the main crop plants. All right. So this icon that we're going to add is only for the main crop. So we select this, and then main crop plants. Let's see what we can pick this. Okay. Let's pick this. And there you are. You can see it adds there. And then you can now come and say the next one should be farm size. All right. So for farm size, we remove this, we browse, and we find something that looks like a farm size. I'll pick this. Okay. Have it there. And there you are. Okay. Yes. So those are the different ways you can format this. All right. So the next thing we're going to look at is how to now generate something like same period last year, and then last month, and then year to date. So let's start with the same period last month, and then we can go into the running total. Okay, good. So for same period last year, we are just going to say under the new measure table, I'll just say new measure. We'll call it farmers, same period last year. All right. So okay. Now for this, anytime you're doing same period last year, you have to use the calculate function. So you start off the calculate function. What are you calculating? I'm calculating the farmer, the registered farmers, and then I'll call the same period last year function. And then here we just reference the date table, all right? Or the calendar table under the date column. Just like that. You don't need to do much. Just like that, and it's ready to go. Okay, let's see. Okay, you can also do the same thing for farm size. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is to calculate the farmer year-to-date value, all right? This is similar to a running total, okay? So for that also, we are going to create a new measure. So I'll also just click here, new measure. And this is how we are going to structure this. We're going to use DAX, and we'll just be seeing the different ways we can make DAX to be complex. We've seen the way you can build simple DAX, and then we can also going to see how we can also use variables to also include them within our measure calculation. So there we are. So I'm going to name it farmers year to date, right? Right. So I'll just maybe start by first declaring a variable here. Now, what I want to look here is to find the current date. So I'm going to call my variable current date, and here I'll just do a max of my date values. All right. So I have my max there. So what is the current date? I'll look into my database. All right. Under my database, we under farmers. All right. So the most recent farmer registration date, farmer DB date of registration. All right. So, and like we said, it's always good to comment. So we can say this one is going to get the current date in the row context. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is to calculate, we're going to introduce another variable, farmers to date. And this one is going to do a number of things. All right, it's going to remove any filters on the sales table, on the farmers table. And then so it should also be able to filter the dates less than or equal to the current date. All right, so shift enter, the second variable is going to be farmers to date. Okay, and this one we're going to call the filter function. All right, so shift enter, and I'll call the filter. All right, now for this filter, this is what I need to do. I'm going to filter down all the rows within my farmer database. Okay, and then I'll do a comma there. Then I'll say not the calendar table. I need it to pick it from the farmer date of registration. All right, so I'll say farmer date of registration, this one here. Okay, and for this filter, it should be what? It should be less or equal to the current date. This one here. Okay, and then it close. Okay, I need to close also this. Okay, now this one here, this part here, this one here, we remove any filters on the farmers table. So this one is removed any right, and then this one, it filters dates less than or equal to the current date. So it should be less than or okay. Now, once you have this, okay, we are going to return the value. Okay, so this is how we're going to do the value. We're going to say return. Okay, what are we returning? So what we should have as a result should be sum x. All right, the sum x, and on this sum x, we're going to find farmers to date. Right. And then for this, we're going to find the registered farmers. Okay, so yes, and this is what we need. Yes, this is now going to constitute our running total. All right, good. So let's see whether that is true. Just maybe add it here. We can just drag it there on top. So farmers year to date is 2341. Okay, and then let's see, in 2019 to 604, same as the registered farmers. In 2020, it came up to 1214. The ones that were registered that year, the new farmers were 610. And you can see the way it's just continuously, cumulatively adding all that based on the years that you are choosing. Okay, yes. So that is a running total for you. Okay, So the next item we are going to be looking at is going to be how you can create your template ready for visualization, how you can just include dynamic labels for your charts, for your pages, and also how you can also get date page navigators. All right. And then also, while at it, we're also going to look at parameters. All right. So meet you in my next session. Thank you so much.